start that again because I cocked all that up. Welcome back. We're going to be carrying on with the America, and the first kind of order of the day is going to be checking the valve clearances. I don't want to start painting up the engine and everything just yet. I want to get the kind of mechanical bits done, and then we can work around with the fancy cosmetic-y kind of stuff. So could go either way on this video. If they're out of tolerance, then I'm going to need to work out what shims I need. I'm going to need to either make or end up buying, there's like a locking pin for the backlash gear so your timing doesn't get thrown out. All sorts of things which I can't just get on with at the moment. And I hold my hands up, I've not had to change the shims or anything on one of these, so it will be a new kind of experience for me. So yeah, so that's gonna be the first order of the day. Let's see what if indeed I am going to have to do that. If not, let's say the valves are valve clearances are fine. I think I'm going to need to then paint the engine. I think that's going to be the next thing. Whilst everything's sort of off, I'm going to need to clean it all up. Probably use a bit of like I have bottles of IPA rubbing alcohol and cheap nail varnish remover initially, but then I like to finish off with brake cleaner because it's in an aerosol. It blasts into all the weird little nooks and crannies. It evaporates quickly, doesn't leave a film, and also because I can't wheel the bike outside to hose it down or anything like that at the moment, because it's just on the stand. I can't get it out of the shed, and it's sort of sitting in the frame. It's kind of a bit awkward to get around to all the little nooks and crannies. In the same way, it's going to be a little bit more awkward to spray. I'm going to have to do some fairly clever masking up of the frame and whatnot. I mean, it's not as bad because I've got the wiring loom out of the way. I've got the front end off the, everything bar the frame is off it. So that kind of makes it as easy as it would be, apart from removing it from the bike, which I kind of don't want to do. I can't believe this is kind of snowballing, as I've said before, into a bit more of a bigger project than I wanted. I want to get back on the bike and be riding. So anyway, yeah, so the engine, going to be using some kind of wrinkle or textured finish paint. I think that will probably lend itself to the engine cases because they're kind of that kind of textured finish is standard. It won't be an exact match, but I'm not overly fussed. But it will be probably enough to cover up any discrepancies and stuff on the engine. I think a wrinkly finish is more forgiving than a smooth finish. But you know, it's all fun and games. As to what brand of wrinkle paint I'm going to use, not sure. I've kind of had a little bit of a look round. My usual go-to is like the VHT heat resistant wrinkle stuff. You look on the internet, 50% of people say it's great, 50% of people say it's shit. The Harley stuff is meant to be really good, but unfortunately comes with quite a good price tag. It's like 28 quid, I think was the cheapest I found it, a can, versus $6.99 for the VHT. So it's kind of a little bit pricey. I don't know what the coverage is on that. Who knows, but we'll see what I go with. I'll make up something else as we go along. But yeah, and then I'll need to decide what I'm going to do with the wheel. Is it going to go black? Is it going to stay chrome, that brushed kind of look? That will also need to be balanced as well. The wheel needs balancing before I put that back on. So yeah, still just a load of stuff, but enough talking. Let's get on with it, and let's see if the valves are going to need adjusting first. Okay then, so we're going to do our valve clearance checks. Just to determine whether or not I'm going to have to go in further and change the shims, but a little bit of orientation if you want it. Obviously the valve cover has come off, that's just held on by these 4 screws there. Again, they're the ones you don't want to lean on when you're reinstalling it. Tighter does not mean better. If you strip these out, each one of these camshaft holders is specific to each one, so if you knacker one of those or mix them up, that won't work. They have to stay exactly as they're machined together. So anyway, but that's more on reinstallation. So these are the camshafts, and these are our camshaft lobes, these little kind of egg-shaped things here, and these circular bits they're sitting on, that's your shims in your bucket. So those are what change. They're like tiny, they look kind of like your shims, like a watch battery, I guess, in there. And it's the clearance between the bottom of the cam lobe and there, which you check with feeler gauges. In order to get the cams in the right position for checking them, you want them pointed away from the valve. You can do it several ways. If you've got your rear wheel on and your clutch lever and everything, you can put the bike in a high gear and turn the rear wheel, and that will rotate them. As my mate Greg pointed out, you can also use the sprocket, but as I'm changing the cover anyway, I thought let's get inside the alternator. We can have a look inside there. So there's the, all that will obviously have to go in the new cover, but you just get a 10mm Allen key, pop that in there, and rotate clockwise. And when you rotate that clockwise like that, you'll see the cam lobes move. Now interestingly, well, sort of interestingly, oops, sorry, trying to do this one-handed without moving the camera. Let's just go over here, just to remind myself of the what the specs are for the clearances. Your inlet is 0.15, focus, to 0.20, and your exhaust is 0.25 to 0.30. The Triumph manual, this is the proper Triumph one. This shows the cam lobe pointing up that way, away from the valve. The Haynes manual has them pointing that way. They measure the same at those points. I prefer doing it in that direction. It's just easier for me to remember that it's pointing away from the valve, so I do it that way. But yeah, inlet and exhaust. So let's back over to the bike. Looking down on it, so obviously our carbs are normally here. So this is your inlet where your air and your fuel comes in, and then your exhaust is downpipe end where they come out. And so inlet, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you got your outlet, 1, 2, 3, 4 there. So let's get the camera set up. Let's rotate these cams into the right position and then make some measurements. So we'll start with the inlet. Okay, that will do for that one. Okay. So, as I said, our specs for the inlet is 15 to 20. Let's see, there we go, there's a 15. Right, so let's try, and what you're feeling for is for the feeler gauge to go in, and then just be, as you're pulling it out, just a slight drag, not loose, just but not too tightly you're forcing it, just a little tug to get it in and out. And there we go, 15. Yeah, and there's just a little bit of resistance as you're pulling it out. Yeah, a couple of times just to make sure. Well, I'm happy that that's 15. Let's try this one. Okay, that one's, you can just feel straight off that's a bit looser. So as long as it's below the 20, we should be okay. So let's try, what's the next one I've got on here? I think it's an 18. 20. I'm sure there was an 18. Ah, there's the 18 hiding there. Yeah, and that's an 18. So those two are groovy. We're happy with those. I'm going to go around and do the same and check all the others. Right, well, it's kind of good news and bad news. It's kind of bad news for anyone who wanted to see a video on doing the shims. Good news for me because I've got away with having to do it yet again. If we're looking at it, This is the readings I've got from left to right. Whoops. Exhaust side, 0.30, 0.25, 0.25, 0.28, and on the inlet we've got 0.20, 0.20 right at the top of the range there, 0.18 and 0.15 on that side. So they're all within spec, so I don't have to do anything. So it will be until next time, although I think before the hardtail Bonneville is done I'll do a valve check on that one as well, who knows. And then the other Bonnie as well, we'll probably need it doing before long, so we'll see. I'm going to have to do it at some point. But there we go. So unfortunately for anyone waiting for that on this video, I want to get this cover off here, and there is a bolt just there, and not sure whether with the standard sprocket you can access it, but obviously I've got a bigger front sprocket, the 19, so I can't actually get anything in there to undo that. And so I've just got a sprocket on there, torqued up to the whatever it is, 100 newton meters or 90, or I can't remember now. So I need to get that off, but of course that's going to spin. So I'm going to give it, just had a look and just try to think what I can probably do to stop that from moving. And my plan is, so I don't damage that, put a sacrificial bit of something underneath there, and then I'm going to jam an old socket there as well, try and jam it all together and see if that's enough to hold the sprocket while it breaks. So we'll have a little look, just see, and this might be a helpful little way of doing things if you get stuck. I think that did it. Yep. Awesome. There you go. So that's how you can get a front sprocket off if you haven't got anything attached to the engine. Hey. There you go. So the forks, I'll call them done. They're they've turned out really nicely with the old tough black. Few more coats, and as you can see, I have started doing the wheel. So its first kind of coat on. I'm going to get the temperature back up in the shed and give that a few more coats. Already that's turning out nicely. So there we go, wheels all done, tapes off, bit of tyre pen action on there as well, just because I like the look of it. That's it, turned out really nicely. So I'm pretty chuffed with that. So just going to leave that though for a good couple of days before I start mauling it around. And getting it on. I mean, I want to wait for the fork lowers to dry off as well before we put the front end back together. I want to scratch any of the fresh paint, but the paint has arrived for the engine, so that'll be the stuff I'm using, Wrinkle Plus. So I've got to keep cleaning and detailing the engine, get every last nook and cranny cleaned up, and then mask off all the stuff that I don't obviously want to get black. Right then, we are ready to start painting. That in itself is quite a tedious job. Just used some old scrap paper I got from work and a roll of masking tape, and just been pretty much just taping off all the areas. Like I said, I'm just going to follow that seam there, so everything up is going to be black, and then kind of the bit you aren't going to see, the starter motor there and the sump and whatnot under there, there'll be a little bit of grey. But to be honest, given how long it's taken to clean every nook and cranny out on here and then scuff everything up with a Scotch Brite, I mean, I'm
I can't be bothered doing underneath. I mean, there literally is, when you start going at it, an insane amount of nooks and crannies. I mean, those inside there was really difficult. It's still not probably the best I could want it, but again, that's not going to get a concentrate of paint in there. And I've just put in, I had some spare air elimination plug things, so I've popped those in the spark plug holes there and there just to block them up. Obviously blocked the exhausts, outlets and the threads, carb side, some just gash bolts in the top here. What I've decided to do as well is use the old covers rather than mask up the new ones or anything like that, or mask. I'm just gonna spray. I'm not too fussed about these things. I might try and clean a bit of the paint off afterwards and then just stick them on the wall, to be honest. I don't think the chrome's good enough for to make much on resale, so they're going to be my sacrificial covers. But yeah, we are pretty much ready to spray. So I've been warming the shed up. Looks like Dexter's kill zone in here at the moment. But yeah, got the heat up, it's boiling hot in here. Warming the cans up, VHT, and so I haven't read the instructions yet. I'm going to do that in a second, but from what I remember, I think it's 3 coats, fairly heavy coats, and then I'll probably use the old heat gun on a low setting between coats like I normally do with the tough black, just to kind of speed up the curing process a bit. But yeah, right, I'll turn off, read the instructions, have a cup of tea, and then we'll get going. Right, wish me luck. Approved safety gear. Let's get spraying.
Sky Black Friday upgrade now. Sky, believe it's better. Use Sky Cinema and Sky Sports customers on. Sky Cinema £9, Sky Sports £37. More for you.
Price subject to RPI. Standard UK calls and text only. Offer ends 30th of November. Terms apply.
43 minutes and bags packed. The bags checked.
14 minutes from High Street to my street. Wherever you're going, get there with Uber. Download the app today and enjoy up to £15 off your first trip with the code RIDENOWUK.
Can you play Get the Funk Out, please, while the rest of the family out for the day again? I'm left home trying to finish off the painting.
Right then, well, that's it's like a sauna in here at the moment. It's so hot. Yeah, it's just thick with paint, so I might have to get out and get a bit of fresh air in a second. But I've done the 3 coats. I've been going over it with a heat gun between each coat. It's probably over 3 coats, to be honest. They say do 3, do a horizontal coat, do a vertical coat, and then do a diagonal coat. And which is kind of alright if you're doing a straight on square piece. When you're trying to get into every nook and cranny, it's not so easy. So I've just kind of pretty much just done a mishmash all over. But we'll see. Let me just turn around and you can have a quick closer look at the engine. So already it's obviously very, very wet. It takes a really long time to go off of this. I mean, I think they reckon it's like 48 hours before you should even fart near it. But it's kind of obviously very glossy wet at the moment. But it's looking nice. I mean, apart from the super glossy shine, if you look at that in the right light, you know, it kind of looks like the stock engine covers. So it'd be nice if it, you know, I'm kind of happy if it just sattens out a little bit more and looks like this. That'll do me an absolute treat. But yeah, I can literally do no more at the moment. I'm just going to have to leave this until it completely goes off. I might do a bit more heat over it for a bit until I pass out. But obviously it's not going to cure completely until the engines run up as well. But yeah, it ain't grey no more. Certainly looks a lot nicer with a fresh coat of paint. Okay, we're about 3/4 of an hour later, and that's let's try this bit. No, it's touch dry, soft still obviously, but you can see how it's starting to wrinkle up. It's quite wrinkly. Maybe that's why they call it wrinkle paint, but I quite like it. It's definitely got more of that kind of Harley engine finish to it, rather than the kind of Triumph cases. In fact, I mean, weirdly enough, the chrome on here has kind of stayed. That looks more like the Triumph wrinkle finish, or the textured finish, indeed on the rock cover, but it's a bit more pronounced there. So I'm gonna just leave this now for a bit longer. Start tidying up a bit in here now that it's that's touch dry. Well, I say touch dry, i.e. it's not wet now. I'll clear up, sweep up, and I'm going to worry about getting bits floating around in the air all over the place, and then see how we get on. And I might end the video by if I take all of the masking tape off, and we can have a look at it kind of finished. There we go. Looking lovely. I'm really happy. I've taken all the masking tape off and rather gingerly taking the side covers off, just kind of froze my a bit, but so I've still got to probably do that one black. I didn't get that off in the end, but I mean, it doesn't massively bother me actually. But I suppose when everything else is on that section will stand out. That bit, not too bad, so yeah, that'll probably have to come off in a mo. But yeah, it's kind of got almost more of that, I'd say more that Harley Davidson finish actually, that kind of slightly more industrial kind of wrinkle finish, but I really like it. Definitely well worth taking the time to carefully mask everything up, I think. So we're all good, and I think the only bit of overspray I managed to get was that bit there. So I'm just going to get a little bit of thinners and just wipe that off, but otherwise brilliant. And yeah, it's just, I think, giving it all a nice new lease of life. But I'm not going to put the other covers on just yet. I'm going to leave it for a good, probably leave it for a good couple of days, because it's make sure it's all properly cured off. But yeah, happy days. I'm chuffed with that. I had thought, shall I sand here and expose the fins? I'm at the moment I'm thinking no, it's just more work. And my other engine has that on there, so it's nice to have this one looking a little bit different. So I think I'm going to leave that. But cool beans. There you go. Thanks for watching the true meaning of Black Friday, even though it's technically Saturday, but you get the drift. We're getting there with all that, and yeah, nothing I'm going to do really now until that's really cured and gone off. So I'm going to leave that for a few days. Get the wheel balanced as well when that paint's dry. start getting the front end back together, side covers on. So yeah, just got to wait for a bit now, but thanks for watching, take it easy, see you next time.